Uf, estoy morido de cansancio. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Hola, soy Lourdes. Thank you for being here today. This is the third video in our Subjunctive Mood series. Today we will continue talking about irregularities, specifically stem-changing verbs. ¿Listos? If you haven't done so already, make sure to check out the first video of this series on how and when to use the subjunctive, and the second one where we talk about the 6 totally irregular verbs as well as spelling changes for verbs ending in car, gar, and ser. If you want to express opinions or give recommendations in Spanish, es importante que sepas utilizar el subjuntivo. And if you're ready to work one-on-one with a coach to improve your conversational Spanish, make sure to check out the link in the description to book a free consultation with one of our coaches. Now, you may remember that the conjugations in the present subjunctive rely heavily on the yo form of the present indicative. ¿Por qué? Well, because in order to conjugate our verbs in the present subjunctive, we first most placed our verb in the yo form of the present indicative. Then we dropped the o at the end, and finally we can add our corresponding endings. Is, hemos, en for AR verbs, and as, amos, an for ER and IR verbs. Because of this, any irregularities that happen in the present indicative, like a stem change, will also affect the present subjunctive. Can you think of any verbs in the present indicative that have a stem change? Think. We have verbs such as entender, where the E in the stem changes to an IE. For example, yo entiendo tu punto de vista. We see it in the verb poder, in this very popular phrase, sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
The O changes to a UE. The same happens in the verb morir, because you wouldn't come home from a long day and say, uf, estoy morido. Rather, you would say, uf, estoy muerto de cansancio. Now, let's look at the specific stem-changing rules in the present subjunctive. The possible stem changes are O to UE, like in volver. Por ejemplo, espero que vuelvan pronto. U to UE, like in jugar. Les prohíbo que jueguen adentro de la casa. E to IE, like in cerrar. Es importante que cierren las puertas de su casa. And E to I, like in pedir. No es necesario que pidamos comida el día de hoy. In AR and ER verbs, these stem changes are present in all forms except the nosotros and vosotros form. Remember, in Spain, vosotros is used to refer to the second person plural, something like you all in English. In Latin American countries, we don't use it, but it's important and helpful information to know. If we were to construct a conjugation chart such as this one, where we include the vosotros, we could also remember the stem-changing verbs as the boot verbs, because if we draw an imaginary boot in our chart, all of the changes remain inside of the boot. Let's look at an example. Let's look at an example with the verb contar. Conjugated in the present subjunctive, yo cuente, tú cuentes, él, ella cuente, nosotros contemos, vosotros contéis, ustedes cuenten. As you can see, the O changed to a UE inside of the boot, in all forms except vosotros and nosotros, which are outside of the boot. For IR verbs, specific changes occur for the nosotros and vosotros form, or outside of the boot. These changes are O to U and E to I. First, with the verb dormir, conjugated in the present subjunctive, yo duerma, tú duermas, él, ella duerma, nosotros durmamos, vosotros durmáis, ellos duerman. The O changes to UE in all forms except nosotros and vosotros, where the O only changes to a U. Now let's look at an example with the verb sentir. Conjugated in the present subjunctive, yo sienta, tú sientas, él, ella sienta, nosotros sintamos, vosotros sintáis, ustedes sientan. Inside of the boot, the E changes to an IE, and outside, it only changes to an I. For example, espero que te sientas mejor versus espero que nos sintamos mejor. Now, I want us to look at the verb jugar because this one is particularly tricky. Do you see why? Not only is it a stem-changing verb, but it also presents a spelling change because of its ending. The G-A-R changes to G-U-E. Can you try and conjugate it? Muy bien. Yo juegue, tú juegues, él, ella juegue, nosotros juguemos, vosotros juguéis, ellos jueguen. Perfecto. This is it for irregularities in the present subjunctive. If you have any questions, please make sure to leave them in the comments. And if you like this video and want more, make sure to give it a big me gusta and subscribe to our channel. We are not done with our subjunctive mood series, so make sure you tune back in. Hasta la próxima! Let's look at a couple examples.